think it's a good segue into in general. Maybe just opening up for more generic questions. What do you like since you came to this? I would say privacy reckoning yourself and like understanding and paying attention to a lot more. How do you tell other people who generally aren't so privacy conscious about kind of just importance of privacy, how to protect themselves? Are you like a preacher, or are you like everybody do whatever you want to, and it's your loss. That's not really my deal. What's your kind of take on like I would say just educating others or imposing your privacy policies on other people?
What a
Well,
question.
yeah, that question. It. I'm still thinking how to answer that, but okay, let me give it a try. I never thought of it too much, but yeah, as much as I can see, there are three types of people with respect to privacy, or the people or the way they perceive privacy. So one
Mhm.
are those are the fundamentalists who think that privacy is everything, privacy gone, everything's gone. So they are the extremists, I would even say. Though there are types of people like that. On the other end, we find the people who are privacy unconcerned. That's how the industry terms them. So privacy unconcerned are the people who, like you put in your question, they totally don't care about whatever happens. Just go. It's my information. I do whatever I want. Like I don't care, man. They go with that attitude. So those
Just
are the
leave me
privacy
alone.
unconcerned. And the third party or the third types of people are who are called as a privacy pragmatists. So they basically exercise caution. For example, when you go to a store and we find something interesting, like for example, they ask you for your phone number and say they are going to send you codes and coupons on a frequent basis and it's going to get you some good deals. Obviously, I would be a person who's going to give my information because I'm going to get something good which is going to benefit me. So those are the people who belong to that pragmatist category. So with respect to extremists, those guys are already on top of the list, so we don't have to worry about them. With respect to the pragmatists, they already exercise some level of caution, which is also good. But with respect to the privacy unconcerned, um, well, have I enforced my theology or my philosophy on them? Well, not really. I've not done that before. But what I try to do is that, for example, when I go to a store or supermarket, and the person at the billing counter asks for the phone number of a person who's standing in front of me in the line, they'd be shouting off their phone numbers. So I take a note of their phone numbers. I give them a call later on, and they say, "Hey, I just got your phone number from the store." So that gives me the trend of being an ethical hacker. So I just let them know, hey, you just gave me your number at the store. And they're like, dude, I never gave you my number. Where did you get it from? And in context, I tell them, see, this is something that you would be careful about. You're just leaking your information to a lot of people in front of the market. Thanks to COVID, it's quite reduced. But at least pre-COVID, all these shops were crowded and there's a lot of people in the markets, and you can get a lot of information. I even thought of calling them up in the middle of the night to scare them out, but but I think that's going to be a problem with ethics, so I just stopped myself from doing that.
I,
So
I
you
I
just
did
said
not think that's where the story was going to end up, like whatsoever.
I'm going to go in a slightly different direction. You just mentioned the word ethics. What role does a company's ethics play in developing their approach to privacy? In how far off or how close are companies to really getting it right with ethical use of customer data or consumer data? But it just seems to me that right now, at least, ethics are kind of low on the totem pole when it comes to how they develop privacy, because it seems more likely that profits are a little higher up than ethics when it comes to privacy at this point.
Well, you're right on the point that people don't put ethics first with respect, and it's quite on the lower note in many times. But I'm just drawing a line with what Tejas said with respect to these big companies. When they have a lot of things with them, a lot of money, a lot of finances, a lot of legal power, and obviously that's going to be a dip in their ethics. That's quite known. But on an overall, I think that ethics is is coincidental, or they are not orthogonal, as in they do meet at many points during a company's business process when they set up their policies and all of that. Because Even if a company is not very keen on data privacy, or if they are not well versed with a great set of lawyers and such technical people, I think their conscience is what really determines the ethics in many cases. Because if a company is doing the right thing first, then obviously they are going to take the right steps, which includes privacy. So privacy is, I wouldn't call as a child of ethics, or ethics being a parent of, or being supreme, but no, it's as good as a human. Like when we are led by the right morals, led by the right ethics in our life, obviously the other things would fall in line. So I think that's the approach that many companies have to take with respect to privacy as well. When we know what we're doing is right, obviously the privacy is also going to fall in place. Obviously we're going to take good measures for security. So both do meet a lot of times in our implementation in our organizations as well. So it's very important, because anti-competition ethics, all of these things also are seen in many times during regulatory scrutinies. I watched some of the Senate and the Congress meetings, while the people of the FANG and everything talk. But one thing that I often find in all those recordings, as in all those meetings, is that they often speak about ethics, they often speak about competition, they often speak about privacy, and all these things are often found on the same platform. They are not discrete elements. They are not spoken separately. They are often spoken, along the same topic. So they often find a balance. I know I'm saying the word often, but that's true, because all of them are coincidental. They are almost parallel, but they make sure, and they have a lot of common points. Once ethics is fine, privacy is fine. If ethics is fine, competition is fine. So it has a lot of intertwinings in between. Yeah.
Can I follow up on that? Because uh, companies, I think, they know the importance of security, because you get hackers taking their data and they can get sued for that stuff, and their customers, don't want to make sure that their data is secure. So security is always one of those that is unquestioned. Do you see people lumping privacy in with security? Like, oh, we're doing security, so yeah, we should be all right. I mean, it's a huge distinction because they're not the same thing. But it seems like you said, sometimes companies talk about it like they're the same things. Like, oh, we're if you ask about privacy, oh yeah, we got security. We don't. No, I asked about privacy.
Well, I would relate that with this small illustration of you having a big house that is fully made out of the bulletproof glass that is present in all of these vehicles of these presidents and all of the great people in the world. You have a house that is made out of glass, full of transparent glass, where people can just look inside your house and see what you're doing in your bathroom or in your bedroom or in your hall, wherever you're going to be. So that is security. Like, you have a lot of protection. You have a bulletproof glass, you have great locks, you have digital biometric for entrances, you have physical security people with such great guns and AK-47s and all these protective gears standing outside the house. You're fully
Wow,
protected.
that got
Yeah.
really deep there, Andrew.
Yeah, so you're fully protected at all times. Nobody's going to sneak inside your house. But if I just have a telescope where the privacy aspect comes in, I can just zoom into the house and see what's happening in every room. If you're not going to put a curtain, if you're not going to put something that closes your windows, people are going to look into your house, even though they don't break into security. So what I'm just essentially trying to say is that great security does not ensure privacy. Privacy has to be viewed, I won't say it is a separate element. It has a lot of things to play together with security, but security ensures privacy. Privacy also has a good play with security. So both of the things are interrelated, and that's where the term called data protection comes. So security is on one side, like we know this Venn diagrams and the concept of set in mathematics. So this is one circle, that is one circle. The intersecting point is data protection. So protecting your data with security, ensuring privacy, putting privacy to ensure that the security is not breached. Like, both of them have a very balancing act. So I wouldn't exclude, like you rightly said, when you talk about security, it does not exclude privacy. Privacy takes another step forward, which is the next step. So securing personal data is privacy. That's the second step. So security is the first level, I'd say. Privacy, is the subset of that. I wouldn't necessarily say a subset. I think I'm contradicting myself. Okay, I just got too deep inside my thought. But yes, you can just find a big box of for security. Security is protecting all your information. Say, for example, your driver's license. It could be your files, general files that you have. Anything that you have, you can protect. Like you can protect your glass, even that's security. But it is not protecting your privacy. So protecting your personal data through security ensures privacy. So both has to be viewed as separate elements, though they are not exactly or conceptually separate. They are quite intertwined in many places.
So what I would say, what when we talk about like, I think we talk about privacy sometimes, and like it's easy to point out maybe like social media companies and things along those lines where there's like obvious, privacy violations going on. But then like if you take like a normal, let's say we take a corner store, like you were talking about the person you were taking the phone number from, or like maybe a local restaurant or something like that. How or what are some common ways that they may or may not know that they're not protecting privacy? Is it just how they store and record information? Is it recording too much information that they don't need? Is it not deleting stuff after a little certain while? What are like some baby steps that can be taken for like maybe organizations of small and large, whatever? There could be different answers for both subsets, but like what are some easy wins in terms of how to up your privacy game?
Sure. I mean that's where the strategy for compliance comes in, because most organizations go after these big laws, complying with these data protection laws and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But if they go after one law, say for example somebody is operating out of California, then obviously they'll have to comply with the CCPA, which is the
Yeah.
California Consumer Protection Act. But if somebody's operating out of say Europe, they're going to having to comply with the GDPR. So most companies, one mistake that they do is go after these laws, these regulations. They try to follow up these regulations, try to meet meet all of these regulations first. But ideally, what I would suggest from what I have experienced or what I've been working for is that teams should go after, or organizations should go after complying with the principles of privacy. Like there are these pillars of privacy. Like for security, we say confidentiality, integrity, and availability. The same way for security, there are 9 pillars. So data minimization is one of them, which is collecting only the less data that they require. Collection limitation is one, storage limitation is one, individual participation, that's where the rights of the people come inside. Openness, transparency, choice, consent, security safeguards, all of these are principles. If you follow after the principles, then it's quite easy to, your work is 70% already done. With any privacy law that comes, it has to revolve around these principles. So if you go after the principles, you're as good as 3/4 of your work is already over. Just the additional stuff has to be done. So even small companies, they can start with working to comply with the privacy principles, which doesn't really involve a lot of legal brains or lawyers to help them out. It's basically common sense in many places. So in a collection limitation, just the principle states that collect only the data that you need. Storage limitation says store it only for the amount of time, the period of time that you actually need it for, then delete it. That's as simple as it goes. So it's quite easy for common man to understand, and organizations of any scale can actually follow after this, instead of going after laws, having to write lengthy privacy policies, and making things difficult for people like for common man to read all these privacy policies for many pages. Just go after the principles. Automatically, ethics part, that's where you find yourself. So just go after the principles. Everything else, every other compliance is it's not a difficult work after all.
Yeah, I think that's a amazing thing to end on. At the end of the day, like, following the legal jargon is one thing, but if you just do what's morally and following the principles, then like you said, most of the job is just doing the right thing, really. Instead of trying to skirt the law, it's just doing the right thing. So Andrew, can't thank you enough for having you on this week. We definitely going to have you back a couple more times. I think there's a lot more information we can pick off you, and maybe funny stories about you trolling people at a convenience store. So we'll try to find more of those too.